Olivia and her best friend Marky join a bunch of buddies heading to Mexico for spring break. But little do they realise that playing a game of truth or dare in a cursed abandoned chapel will lead them and their friends to death, destruction and despair. The opening of Truth or Dare is really intense and thrilling. It has this incredibly disturbing image at the heart of it, where a young woman is dared by someone off camera to set someone on fire and watch them die. She's obviously terrified, but she can't not do it, and you're left with lots of questions that could motivate a really interesting film. Truth or Dare is not that film. From the ending of that sequence all the way until the finish of the entire movie, it is a hot mess for literally every single second on screen. I get what Blumhouse is trying to do. At the heart of this is a generic teenage kind of sleepover horror. It has that structure that a slasher film has to have, where you spend 20 minutes at the start of the film with 8 jerks, basically, and then you one by one watch them get picked off in some inventive ways. And there's lots of ways to do this kind of film well. You can talk about Scream or Nightmare on Elm Street, and in particular I think Final Destination is a really good fit. Truth or Dare does almost everything wrong, and to give you an example, let's talk about the 20 minutes with jerks section, which, true to form, Truth or Dare totally fails to do correctly. 20 minutes with jerks is an idea that basically at the start of a horror film with a semi-large cast, so we're talking, between 5 and 8 characters probably at the lead of a slasher film, for instance. So you have 20 minutes with them hanging around with each other, usually at a party of some kind. In this case, they're on holiday in Mexico on spring break, and you basically get introduced to their character flaws. Truth or Dare does 2 things really badly here. First of all, the characters who are jerks are just completely horrible. Like, there's this character called Tyson, who basically, in the middle of this game of Truth or Dare, like literally 2 or 3 questions in, goes to the main character, "Hey, Olivia, isn't it true that you're in love with your best friend's boyfriend?" Like, that's just horrible. He's just completely mean-spirited, and it makes you not want to watch him on screen for the whole thing. Because he's so horrible, you don't really care if he dies, and when he does, it's like, oh, alright. But you're supposed to buy that his girlfriend really loves him, because we then have a whole sequence with her. So it's like failing really to set up these characters in a way that actually motivates the film in an interesting sense. And a lot of the characters have flaws or character traits that are important later on, but actually aren't set up in this sequence. So one of the characters is supposed to be like verging on being an alcoholic. She has some problems with how she manages alcohol in her life. And we don't find that out until literally like the scene before the whole thing sets off. So maybe you're supposed to think, okay, she's drinking loads, but they're on spring break. Like, that's pretty standard, I think, and everyone else is too. So it doesn't really stand out, and you don't know that that's something you're supposed to be looking at until it comes up. So it feels clumsy. It feels like you're being reintroduced to the characters throughout just ahead of a scene that will capitalise off a flaw that you find about them. I guess the other big issue with this is that the characters are really, really toxic and horrible to each other when we're supposed to think they're being cool to each other. The whole movie revolves around the friendship between the lead character, Olivia, and her best friend, Marky. Olivia is almost insufferably altruistic. We meet her when she's recording a video for her YouTube channel that's for Habitats for Humanity. Her best friend, Marky, comes into the room and says, "Hey, if I told you how much I hate the fact that you're going to Habitats for Humanity for spring break instead of coming with me and my mates to Mexico." And Olivia says, "Yeah, okay, I get it. I would like to go with you to Mexico, but I've already committed to doing Habitats for Humanity and I will, hang out with you afterwards." And Marky goes, "Well, that's really cruel of you because obviously we're going to be ripped apart by life after this." So that's really emotionally manipulative straight off the bat. And then she says, "Actually, I've unsigned you up for Habitats for Humanity secretly. Like, I've told them that you have an illness and you can't go, so now you can come with us to spring break." Like, this is incredibly toxic, controlling behaviour, and yet it's portrayed as being like, God, they really are super close, buddy-buddy people. It becomes clear from interactions like that the filmmakers either don't know or more likely don't care about how people interact with each other, how emotional reactions actually work in a real human sense. Now, that wouldn't really be a problem for something like the slasher film, because it's just someone coming after them to murder them. But in this film, the truth especially, and also the dares, are supposed to be based off like weaknesses that they have as people, and kind of in their relationships with each other. So when, and like mild spoilers for this, the demon that's controlling the game, God, this film is so dumb. And so when Olivia says, "The demon dared me to sleep with Lucas," Marky's boyfriend, you just don't buy it as anything other than a really shallow attempt by the filmmakers to create drama where there isn't really any, where we haven't really been invested in those characters because we don't understand how they relate emotionally to each other. And testament to that is the fact that my entire audience laughed at that scene. They laughed out loud. And by the way, the dialogue in this film is some of the worst that I've ever seen. I went to go see Rampage before I saw this, And Rampage came across as like this quietly considered drama in terms of how well written the dialogue was in comparison to this film. Sample lines from the film that I thought were really terrible. "Is that for your YouTube channel? Nah, YouTube's for my volunteering. Snapchat's just for fun." This is so like 40-year-old men writing about social media. Marky says to Olivia in a later scene, "Since my dad took his life, you've been like family." This is a special class of bad dialogue. It's like an exposition problem. It's where characters explain stuff to characters who already know this stuff, and you can tell it's for the benefit of the audience, not really as a character interaction. It doesn't help that the actor delivers that really poorly, but I don't know how you would deliver it well, so fair play to her. And when Olivia is explaining to the others about the fact that she's seen people kind of like possessed by the demon for the first time, where they get this weird, distorted, smiley face look on them, she says, "It looked like a messed up Snapchat filter." You know, from Snapchat for the kids. You know, Snapchat, the favourite social media of our target market. Snapchat for kids. You know, Snapchat, Snapchat, Snipchalk, Snipchak, Snootchik, Snootchak. And by the way, just to tie this off, those weird distorted smiley faces, is anyone really scared of that shit? I've noticed that it happens in lots of horror movies now. I think we kind of have James Wan and his gang to thank for it. You know, it's this idea that you can't just have a demon be like someone normal looking, or you can't have a demon that actually looks like a demon or has any kind of design. You just have like people who are like, "Do you want to play a game?" I don't know why it's become so widespread in horror as well, because I don't think it is scary, and I don't think anyone really finds it scary. I don't even believe that like this teenage girl demographic that is supposed to be the people who this films are aimed at find it scary. My little sister watches some of these films, and I mean, none of them really keep her up at night, right? Like, she doesn't tell me about the movies and say, "Oh yeah, you should see that, it was really scary." It's just stuff that you watch with your mates and you go, "Oh," and then you forget about it, right? So I really don't know why it's become widespread, apart from the possibility that it's really for insecure filmmakers. Truth or Dare, at the heart of it, and I mean right at the heart of it, has a tiny grain of something that could have been a good movie, and it just feels like it's been committed to death. So when I see this really shitty Snapchat type filter, and I mean, if it's not looking any better than something that could be procedurally generated by your phone for a consumer product, then really why is it in your movie? When I see that bad filter, I think that's a filmmaker who doesn't know whether his film is scary or not, and so he's just put in something spooky-ish to try and make it feel like it's supposed to be more scary, and I think unsuccessfully too. So don't go see Truth or Dare in the cinema, because it really, really sucks. I would even say don't see it when it's on video on demand or whatever. It's literally not worth the 90 minutes or so that it will take from your life. Just take the money and time that you would have spent on it and go and see your loved ones. Go out to a museum or have a nice meal, or like visit the park and sit down in the sun for a bit. Have a pint with a mate. Just don't watch this terrible, terrible excuse for a film. Yeah, I didn't like it. Yeah. That's it from me, and if you've seen the film and you want to share how shitty it is, because I doubt any of you are going to come and jump to its defense, please let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to find out what you think about it. Don't forget to click like and subscribe if you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.